Welcome to the Hardworking Dad Podcast. This is Thursday edition of Dad Thoughts. And as I'm starting this podcast, I'm looking at my laptop. I see syrup stains on my mouse pad. I'm just like, fantastic. I have to talk to my son about not eating up here when he's doing school. But hey, this is Dad Thoughts. This is the free-flowing podcast where I just get to kind of come on and share with you guys where I'm at and just some things that I hope help you guys, would create thought, would create, it's maybe that you guys aren't also the only ones struggling out there. And this, one thing that I've been really struggling with is marriage. Gosh, marriage is hard. And I've been with my wife for 19 years now. We've been married for 12. This year will be 13 in December. And prior to that, I was with her for 7 years. I know some of you dads may out be there just putting out the judgment at this point. Like, hey, isn't this a Christian podcast? He was with his wife for 7 years. I wasn't Christian. I didn't become a Christian until we actually got married. And prior to that, I was Catholic. And, my parents were divorced. So my parents were divorced when I was like 1. So for me, I kind of just grew up with, just thinking divorce was pretty normal. I lived with my grandparents who weren't divorced, but, when growing up, I'd see my brother, he lived with his girlfriend for many years, and my uncles, they did the same thing. So the people that I saw, it was kind of just the normal thing. You didn't just get married right away and then start a family. It was just like you live with your girlfriend until you're ready for marriage. So that was that's what I had, and that's what the example I went with, and that's probably why we were together for 7 years. And it's amazing my wife stayed with me for 7 years without getting married. And but when I finally said yes and put 2 feet in, I think that's when God said, okay, I can really do something here. And the conviction came, and I got saved. And then my wife got saved. And then we started having kids a year later. So, it was a journey, but that was our journey. So to clarify for any judgment that came up, and just saying, I've been with my wife 7 years, and then we got married. And now but anyways, just to say, I've been with my wife for 19 years. Been with her for 19 years. So we've gone through many struggles. And I'll tell you, even now, where I know we're good, there are still just struggles at times. There are still disagreements we have. It's not like after 20 years we got it all figured out. We're still learning, and we're still growing, and there's still a lot of work. And, the other day I was, we got into a disagreement over something so small that blew up so big. And it really was just like a ninja star in my brain. And it's just, and when it happens, it's just your whole day is ruined. And you start to question a lot of things, like, what am I doing? Or I'm a horrible husband. And, why are we still having these fights after so many years? But I always just got to know that one thing I've been seeing lately is that the enemy is on the attack on marriages. Because I've just been hearing so many people I see now are getting divorced. Christian, not Christian, but even in the Christian things, that's happening a lot in Christian homes. But it's happening along in the world, and the enemy's whole goal is to divide and conquer. So I was reading the book Point Man by Steve Farrar, if that's how you say it. But he makes this great point about marriage. And the whole point of the devil is to destroy the family. If he destroys the family unit, he can destroy the country. The family unit is so pivotal in society. Everything is built off the family through history. The family is what keeps countries going, what keeps the society moving. And he says the whole tactic of the devil is to destroy the family. And how does he do that? Divide and conquer. If he can divide the husband and wife, he can conquer the family unit. And man, it was just so impactful because it's so true. So many of the disagreements that we can get in, that I get in with my spouse, that they're kind of meant to just divide. Oh, she didn't do this. Oh, she's not doing this for me, or she's not affirming me. She's just bringing me down, or she's just negative about this. And then you start creating sides, or, you start the tally of I do this and she doesn't do that, and can be guilty of that. But it's to separate and divide. So I think as husbands, we really have to be aware of the tactics of the enemy at play when we get in these disagreements, when we're hit with questioning thoughts of our marriage, that there is an attack on you, on the husband, on the wife, to divide, to find some reason that you can be upset about something. Because the fight we got into, it was really the things we argued about was super small. But it was small because it was something that built up, but it was small. And I kind of look back and reflect, how could I have done better in that time? I could have just taken a deep breath, held my reaction, and responded. I've talked about that. I am someone who at times needs to really, not at times, but take my own advice. And because I'm not any less than any of you listening, I still get attacks. I'm still getting attacked by the enemy. I still get discouraged. I still get frustrated. I still get angry. But I always got to remind myself of the battle that we're in and the tactic that the enemy has. And it's been really discouraging because I've just seen so much divorce happening. And it's heartbreaking. It's sad what it does to the husband, to the wife, to the family. And it's just, it's sad. It's and then sometimes that fear, hey, we're talking fear again, October, but even that fear can really start to hinder you. There are times when, man, I'm so fearful that my wife will just be like, you know what, I don't want to be in marriage anymore, or I'm not in love with you. That's a fearful thought sometimes I have, because I hear the stories. I hear the stories of that happening to other men, and it's kind of like, oh, is that they didn't do anything wrong. I mean, you can go to any amount of dads groups out there and you'll hear, yeah, my wife just decided to leave me, or my wife doesn't want to be with me anymore, or vice versa with the husband. He goes out and does whatever, but it's just happening so much, and we have to be on guard. And honestly, it's taking my thoughts captive too, because that can be an overwhelming thought. That can be an overwhelming premise to think on, that could be a possibility. But I know my wife, and we're in this together. We don't have a plan of divorce. We have a plan to work together and through it. And so that's where, we've drawn our line, but we still have to fight the enemy's attacks. We still have to fight anything that can cause separation. So it's really just not meant to be any kind of practical advice. I know I kind of threw out the guidance of our heart, but it's really what I've been having to go through. But one thing that has been super impactful is men's prayer group. Guys, I'm grateful to have a brother, Matt Knoll. Shout out to you, bro. He has his podcast, Standing on the Front Lines, with Matt Knoll, for Christian men. It's a great podcast, and he's 100% who he is. On who you hear on the podcast is who he is in person. I've been so grateful that he's been my brother in Christ that is helping me stand on the front lines. And he has a prayer meeting every Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And what's great is I got into this fight with my wife. my Friday. It was Friday, and it was just the day seemed like it was ruined. It kind of put everything in a rut. And you know what? I jumped on the prayer podcast, the prayer meeting, and there are some men, other Christian men, who jump on, and guys from all over. We had a guy from Egypt one time, but guys from all over the world, and you just get to tell what's going on. And then the next thing you know, is another brother's like, you know what? I've been going through the same thing. And another brother's like, yeah, me too. And you're not alone in the struggles. You see that so clearly from the other guys who are going through things. And then we get to pray together as men, lifting these things up, lifting our families up. And it's honestly such a beautiful thing. And so I'd like to invite you to the men's prayer meeting Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It'd be great to see you if you're a listener. I'd love to know that, hey, you heard this from the podcast, and great to meet you. But you can email Matt at standingonthefrontline@gmail.com, and he'll provide you the link. He sends it every Friday a few minutes before he starts the podcast, the Zoom meeting, and it is truly awesome. I think it's needed in this world, really. As men, we need prayer. As men, we need to find other brothers that we can unite with, that we can come together and pray against the attacks of the enemy on our hearts, on our families, on our homes, on the things that God is doing in our lives, and just strengthen one another. It's awesome. So, dad thoughts. That's kind of a heavy dad thoughts. This one wasn't so fun as the other ones, but it's been a battle that I've been fighting in my mind, and so I'm sharing it here. So we'll see you on the next episode.